Okay, now corporate governance doesn't often make the news, but the past year has been an increasingly crazy one, and now even governance matters compete with stories on political chaos and terrorism in the headlines. Here in the US, news was made last month when a group of eminent business leaders, including worthies like Mary Barra of General Motors, Warren Buffett, Jamie Dimon, Jeff Abmelt, and Bill McNabb of Vanguard, released an open letter proposing new common sense corporate governance principles. These are worth reviewing for a take on what the very top of America's corporate, banking, and investment food chain agree on when it comes to governance. The principles made a big news splash in July, with most of the attention going to the language about dual-class stock voting and calls for replacing ineffective directors. The actual substance of the principles is not what you'd call revolutionary, though. The first section on board composition is made up of what I call Boy Scout principles, as I talked about in my first book. Directors should be strong and steadfast, independent of mind, and willing to challenge constructively, and so on. This is stuff that's so vague and so noble that it's probably libelous to accuse somebody of lacking some of these things. Most other board-specific items like director tenure, splitting the CEO and chair role, and proxy access are waffled with no one-size-fits-all sort of language. But the common sense principles do offer some food for thought. The item on board responsibilities is an excellent list of duties for writing any board charter. And included in this is specific language calling on boards to take on communication with shareholders. Since funds are involved in the project, they've made sure to include a section spelling out communication best practices between asset managers, boards, and managers. The principles aren't going to trigger any board governance uprisings anytime soon, but they will help activists. Using these points as a common blueprint, they'll be able to pressure major public companies who are behind the curve. How well this will work with mid-cap or closely held firms remains to be seen, though. Now, within your board itself, try distributing these principles and ask how well your board does at meeting these standards. They may prove most effective as a prod to convince your board to up its own game. I'm Ralph Ward from the Boardroom for August.